Bill Cosby defiantly proclaims innocence after being sprung from prison. So, does this mean that Bill Cosby is innocent? Not necessarily. So, the thing that you got to really understand about this situation is that it's a really weird situation, right? Now, it's pretty obvious that Bill Cosby basically probably did some pretty heinous things. But the reason why this is such a big deal is that it goes to show you that technically speaking, within the legal system, there is, I guess, apparently some standards involved in it. And the reason why I'm saying that is that apparently Bill Cosby, like this is the reason why Bill Cosby is released at the time of this recording, right? Apparently, in a civil case, the prosecutor within the civil case basically promised to Bill Cosby, like, hey, no matter what, we are not going to criminally charge you for, your alleged assault, right? Basically telling him, like, hey, whatever you say here, we are not going to charge you for this criminally, right? As long as you don't plead the fifth, right? And of course, Bill Cosby ended up agreeing to that. Now, that was again under the assumption that this agreement would hold firm, that he would be willing to say whatever he was going to say and end up basically not facing criminal charges based off anything that he said within this civil case, right? Now, there was some discussions of whether or not that was, right, or if you could actually use that original prosecutor for as a witness on the whole thing, right? But the reason why he was released today was because the Supreme Court basically deemed like, hey, if a prosecutor tells a person like, as long as you do this, we will do this for you, and that person ends up doing exactly what they say, then you have to hold to the agreement, basically. That's pretty much like the big summarization of this whole situation, is that this isn't to say that Bill Cosby is innocent. It's that basically an agreement was made and was not upheld, which is why they are doing this overturning, because the original agreement was not held. And I guess the best way to really understand it is that, let's just say that there was a car accident situation, right? Like there was a car accident, two people are involved, one of them being you, right? And then basically a cop would just say, hey, no matter what you say here, we are not going to press charges on you criminally, right? Meaning you might be able to be sued in this civil case, or you might have to pay financial fines in this civil case, right? But you're not going to face any legal repercussions or, damages. Let's say if someone were to die, right, in that car accident. You wouldn't be charged for murder, but maybe the family could end up suing you for, a lot of money, right? That's basically kind of like a similar situation, obviously to different degrees in different situations. But that's kind of like the way to really understand it, is that hey, you said as long as I were to say something in this specific way without, protecting myself, you're not going to press charges against me in a criminal manner, but I do hold myself open for financially being attacked, basically, right? So it's a very interesting situation. Obviously, this is not good what Bill Cosby did or allegedly did, but the thing is, if a prosecutor makes an agreement with a potential suspect, and the suspect does basically what the prosecutor tells him to do for the agreement, and the prosecutor or the courts and all that kind of stuff don't uphold that, even though the person ended up believing on that premise that hey, there was this agreement, we agreed to do this specific thing, so we need to follow through with it, then it should be upheld. One way or another, it should be upheld. It's kind of like a situation where hey, you promised to pay me $10 if I were to give you milk on Tuesday. And if I give you milk on Tuesday and you don't give me $10, the agreement was broken on your half. But how can you, blame me for whatever happened, because I did the agreement with you and you did not uphold it. So how can you put blame on me in that situation when we made an original agreement that something would not happen, right? This would happen and nothing else would happen. So it's just a interesting situation. I mean, feel free to give your thoughts. I mean, feel free to hit the like button whether or not you like this or not. If you don't like this, hit the like button. If you do like this, hit the like button. Because no matter which way you view this, it's interesting, right? Because it goes to show to people that hey, if you make an agreement with within the legal system and they do not uphold their deal, that you will hopefully be vindicated later on. Because the thing is, in this situation, I believe Bill Cosby could technically sue for being put into prison, right? Now, again, I am not saying that he is innocent or anything like that, but they broke an agreement that he made with the prosecutor, right? So he probably could, in a sense, just sue for millions of dollars because they put him in prison when they weren't supposed to, based off of the agreement. So it's going to be pretty crazy as to what ends up going to happen in this whole situation. Will this stay like this? I believe that for Bill Cosby, he might go for the rest of his life not ever seeing the inside of a prison ever again, right? As long as he doesn't do anything that he was alleged to do, right? As long as he, stays basically away from people. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Feel free to give your thoughts if you end up stumbling upon this. I think it'd be pretty interesting, right? Do you think he did any of the stuff that he's been alleged to do? If he did do it, do you think that he should stay in prison? Do you think this is good on the legal system to basically abiding by the agreement that they made with him? So I just think it's interesting. I do think that the legal system should uphold any agreements that they made with people, because basically you don't want a situation where there's no faith in the legal system, right? Whether it be from one side or the other kind of thing. It's hey, you need some sort of faith in the accountability of the legal system, because you don't want to be constantly screwed over, or you don't want to constantly see people, right or wrong, be constantly screwed over, where their rights are completely screwed over or their agreements are completely screwed over, because then that gets into a sticky situation that pretty much anyone can make any claim against you and basically you're screwed, right? And again, not saying Bill Cosby is innocent, just saying I think it's a good thing that an agreement that was originally made did basically be upheld, right? That a promise that was made was upheld. Because it's basically almost like a similar situation in a moral sense, I guess you could say, of a witness testifying about something and them potentially not, having to face any criminal charges based off whatever they might be saying. It's basically a situation where let's say a major crime happened or like maybe some like terrorist situation happened, but your sole witness might have been committing a crime during the whole thing, but based off his testimony, it could end up saving someone's life, or it could end up, solving some sort of problem or question that might be really worthwhile to get that answer, or like, or the answer might be worthwhile, or the outcome might be worthwhile. So, not saying it's good, just saying it makes sense. But feel free to give your thoughts.